So input, we simply define this inside of our component that this property is being populated via an input. And then on the parent template, we use a property binding to say whatever we put into this property, whatever value, this is getting passed to this component. And so this is what this looks like. In the component here, we're saying that in my component, in this case, we have a greeting property. And in the parent component, then we're defining the greeting property, and we are sending in hello child. Now you'll notice that I did not set a default here, or I set a default, so if it did not get defined, then it would just go to the default. So let's actually just hop into some code real quick and see what this looks like. And so this is in the passing data to a component plunk. And you can see here, this is what we saw. We have in our my component, we have an input that is, we're basically setting greeting, and so we're binding this. And then from here, we can just use string interpolation to display it in the template. And then we're passing it here when we define this. So if we go back to our code, just pull this aside here. You can see I have greeting, and I'm passing this in to my component. But in here, I am not. So let's do just another one. When you say goodbye to somebody, what's the opposite of greeting? Like salutation? Sure. I don't know. Goodbye. Okay, so this is just a property on the parent component. And then let's just go ahead and salutation. So we're going to property bind to this equals salutation. And then within our child component here, string equals.
Do you have to type your inputs now?
What's that?
Do you have to type them?
You do not have to. But because Scott did, I did. When in Rome.
Is it lowercase string or uppercase string in TypeScript?
I've been using uppercase. Uppercase N for number. But I don't think it actually matters at runtime because it gets stripped out anyways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the answer to that is it's good enough either way, I think.
Whatever you want.
Whatever I want. Okay, and we'll just duplicate this here.
I just want to say one thing. If you're coming from like React, inputs and outputs are literally just props. Mm-hmm. Right? An input is a prop that you're passing into a component. An output is a handler on a component for some type of event on a callback. It's the same thing.
If you're coming from Angular 2, that's exactly how it works as well. I mean, that's it. Is something goes in, some event is fired, and we need to handle it on the parent component. And so let's go ahead and re-render this. So now you can see that on the two components, it got the default salutation on the top one and the custom salutation on the bottom one. The reason being is because in the app TS, I said greeting on the top one and salutation on the bottom one. pretty straightforward. Any questions on that? I just want to pass something into my component, put an input on it. One other thing worth mentioning here is that you can also alias this as well. So for instance, if there's some weird property shadowing or something that's happening and you want to call it something different, you can create an alias on that. So outputs work similar, just in the opposite direction, and they are events. So this is very much, if you're comfortable with expression binding in Angular 1, this works very close to that. The main thing is with Angular 1, we had scope to emit events for us. With Angular 2, we do not have that mechanism, so we need the EventEmitter to handle that for us. So make sure that we import the EventEmitter, and then we use the output decorator to define that, hey, this thing is actually going to emit an event. And so you can see here we've defined some value, and when this gets called, it's going to do that callback. So here we have click calls greet, and within this greet method, we are on the property we defined as an output. So we're actually instantiating this as a new event emitter. So we're saying greeting is an event emitter, or greeter rather, and from here we're going to call greeter.emit. So fairly simple. You have event emitter, you call greeter on that, or emit on that to surface the event to the parent component. And then in the parent component, and this is critical, we have my component, then greeter, which is the name of the output, which is just an event emitter. We're saying greeter equals greet, and then we're using the $event parameter. And so whenever we emit something off of greeter, then it's going to call whatever we put into the property or into the attribute value of this particular property. In this case, we're calling greet. Let me just hop into the code. We'll just see this real quick.
There's a couple questions on that. What's that layout padding?
So that is, I'm using Material Design Lite because I like pretty things, and so that is where that's coming from. It's Material Design Lite stuff. Whenever I actually paste these snippets in, I strip that out. So that's just Material Design stuff that's happening. Any other questions? You said questions, plural.
There are two people asking the same one, and somebody says, are there day 2 plunks? Is that all
yes.
These links are in the same one?
So if you go to, they're in the same link, so 100mind.com/FEM-plunks, or if you go to github.com/100mind, then they are in there as well, simply because I've had Plunker go out on me at the worst possible times, namely my first front-end master's workshop. I am creating offline versions as well. So you can actually download them all at once, and this is what you're seeing here. So we just went through, downloaded everything, and so they're online on Plunker if you want to fork them, which is really handy, and look at a specific one, or you can download the entire set of plunks, and we'll be adding to those as this workshop progresses. So I'd like to think that eventually this is going to be the ultimate repository of Angular 2 examples. So like a real Martha Stewart cookbook for Angular is the plan.
So you're Martha Stewart.
I'm Martha and he's Stewart.
All right.
Any questions on that? No, just kidding. All right, so output. Just go through here real quick. Fire this up. And this apparently is, oh, wait. Did that go? It happened so fast, I didn't even realize. Click the button for a greeting. Child greeting emitted. Yay! I'm glad you are all sitting down for this.